and gentlemen. Morning. A very, very warm welcome to Temba Tea. I want you to feel very welcome at your own event. And thank you for inviting me. I find it. I'm very pleased to be here and to drink later on with Juliet, as we always do. Of course, I'm German. I mean, what can you expect? To start off with, so we don't have an own economist, we don't have an own AI department, we basically also club information, of course, from very different sources of the very different industries. And I was given like 8 areas to talk about, and I'll hope I kind of somehow put that together and can give you a bit of a glimpse of what I try to make it as industry as possible, but of course you'll every now and then hear the Volkswagen coming through. So that was what the title I was giving. I was given the power of strong OEM-Dealer partnerships, ensuring customer satisfaction and overall success. And I want to start off with economy. Nothing of that is a prediction. It's just taken from other sources, but how it affects us and to put some context into it. So macroeconomics, we've just heard it. We'll hear it again from Ghana. I believe first of all exchange rate development, and I'm always on a bit of a positive side. And you've seen the dollar coming down significantly, and you've seen coming down in terms of getting more dollars for less rents. Similar to the euro. In our case, we are invoiced either in dollars or in euros, depending on the source of our vehicles, in that Volkswagen case. And we invoice our export customers in euros. So in our business, as also being an OEM, we are sort of naturally hedged. So if the rand becomes weaker, we make more money with the exports, which should normally be nice for us because 70% of our cars is exports. If the rand becomes stronger versus the dollar and the euro, we'll make more money in the domestic market, which is not really good for the result of our legal entity, but which is really good for also proving that South Africa is an investment destination in the future and that it makes sense for OEMs to invest in South Africa. So currently, we are quite happy with the development, not with the last 10 days probably, so I hope that calms down a bit. And I think it's much driven because of some arm wrestling with the American president. Of course, the volatility remains a challenge, but we'll hope that rather the rand becomes more stronger and remains stronger. In our case, so as when we started to plan for this year, our headquarter, Wolfsburg, in this case Germany, was saying you must budget for a rand towards euro 21.80. Which is, it shows how the headquarters sees us. So we negotiated them down, said, no, see the last couple of months, that was then from August to October, November, see the last couple of months, so we negotiated them down to a 20.80 towards the euro, which is quite good. So with that, anything below 20.80, we make good progress. So, but it would be great to get it a bit lower still. Then the prime interest rates, we heard it, interest rate cut. Also, Michael was saying it in that video. Not only that it came down already 0.25 this year, but it started last year, as you remember. So we had twice 0.25 last year, which I must say did not push the business as much as I hoped it would push in our automotive space, as much as I hoped it would push it. I think you can still see a lot of uncertainty in the consumer behavior. Another 0.25 was good. We also expect another 0.25 in the second quarter. So then we've got 1% from somewhere September last year to hopefully June this year. So that is not bad. And sometimes it also helps to remind us, and it's an opportunity to probably revisit declined deals. It's getting better, not as much as we hope it to be better, but but it's also, as the currency is on a positive trend, from my point of view, also the interest rate is in a positive trend. Inflation is receding back, so that's good. Because that is also good to what David was saying, that is also a good thing towards pricing of vehicles. Because normally what you do is you price inflation. So if inflation is coming down, also the prices of the vehicles should not increase by that amount of money. But only on an inflationary basis, because the costs of vehicles, specifically when you manufacture locally, the costs of the vehicles also increase by inflation, because the suppliers have increased the wages, the suppliers increase the parts prices, so it's a function, at least for those who manufacture locally, pricing is in a way a function of inflation. So inflation coming down, that is for us a very good thing. Of course, that VAT discussion, I would say, does not help us. I'm also not sure whether it goes through or not, but at least it's not at 2% anymore, but 0.5 and another 0.5 if it goes through. I was tempted to go into some political discussions on coalition, coming from Germany originally and being experienced in coalitions for the last 70 years. So if something like this would happen in Germany, let's say, that one party of a coalition of the government of national unity opposes the budget, that would be the coalition ends. But let's see how, that's a discussion you must have behind closed doors before you come up with a budget. That's what I would say. But okay, anyway, it is what it is, and we'll see what comes out of that. Total vehicle market, there was also a question. We are working closely together with Lightstone, so this is not our forecast, but we borrow it from the industry. We are still not back at pre-COVID levels, and you know that in the room. And that is sort of a surprise to me, also that I would wish it would be better. 2024 was tough. But I would say you could clearly see a year of two halves. So the first half, until the inception of the government of national unity in 2024, was really tough. But the second half, you could see it's getting better. And and that's now gut feel. That's not even research. I would say the forecast for this year, the 350,000 on the passenger car market is quite realistic, or would be even higher, because we'll see it continuing positively in terms of the second half of 2024, if you only slice that part, with the interest rate coming down. So I'm positively optimistic. We are year-to-date 18.6% ahead in the passenger car market. Thank you, NAMSA, for putting all the data together. In general, we are not in a too bad space when you see where we're coming from. 2026 and 2027, we hope that we finally manage to get back to pre-COVID levels. So that was how do we see macroeconomics? Of course, the overall GDP growth affects the car market, but just like very specific for us, it's the exchange rate, which is important. It's of course the interest rate, and with that, I remain positive for some sort of growth. So then, I want to talk a bit about local manufacturing and also legacy importers. And that, in a way, also, I think, talks a bit to the situation South Africa is in. And I would say sometimes as a local manufacturer, we don't feel as valued as I think we should be, in terms of, and that's also true for like, as we call them now, legacy importers with a long-standing history in this country. There is a lot of investment in this country. Also it's not the biggest profit pool on earth to make business in South Africa, I can tell you. But there's a lot of investment in terms of job creation. On our side, we employ 4,000 people directly in the plant, or not only in the plant, but also in the sales organization. But there's 4,000 people directly employed at Volkswagen. if you look at the supplier infrastructure, that is for local manufacturing now, if you look at the supplier infrastructure, that's around 50,000 people which are affected or which benefit from us manufacturing cars with suppliers manufacturing parts. When then we look at you guys then also in the dealerships, in the sales, in the after-sales space, there is a lot a local manufacturer can do. We contribute to GDP. I think we're second biggest as an industry, second biggest contributor to GDP. Mining is bigger. I think we all try to overtake mining as it was back in the days, that automotive could be number one in GDP. And of course, we pay taxes in the Nelson Mandela Bay, where we are based in Kariga. Even the municipality pays ESCOM, we pay the municipality, so we are one of the good guys not contributing to the debt David just mentioned. So there is a lot of benefit local manufacturers and also long-standing importer relationships due to the economy, and sometimes I feel that's not valued. It's always about, like, can some Chinese come and invest newly and then there is no investment. So, plus, there's extra costs imposed on local manufacturers and also legacy importers, which I think that's a political discussion we are also having. So how to, and I don't want to say protect, because I'm not really the protectionist advocate in this sense, but how do we incentivize local business, local manufacturing, local trading? I think that's more where I want to get to. If at the very end it ends in protectionism, probably it is what it is, but I would rather speak about incentivization. I dislike the example I always make in this case. So we were not exempted from load shedding in the Nelson Mandela Bay as a manufacturer. Which put me in a position, or which put us as a team in a position, that we had to get generators in case of load shedding. That started already last year, that we had to get generators in case of load shedding, that we are able to run the plant. Not to send home the people, but also because we were targeting an export production record volume last year, which we then achieved. So now we have generators. That's 130 million rand. For 2 years renting generators. We need quite a bit of power. Plus, every day I run them, it's 1.6 million rand. And that is a cost which is added to my business, in me, or for us doing business now in Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, and that's of course no one is giving me back that money, so it ends up in a way in the pricing of cars, because somewhere the money must come from. And that's what I mean with, like, look at your local economy and your local contributors, and don't impose extra costs on them to just be competitive to probably importing brands. Just saying. Hashtag just saying. Hashtag speaking for a friend. Anyway, so we also in terms of supply chains, as I said, we've got a robust supply chain network and have ripple-on effects on various economic sectors. We, as Volkswagen, we have 1,100 suppliers. That's not only component suppliers, but that's also the ones, kind of the cleaning services, the logistics services, the water for meeting services. So there is a lot connected to us and the local economy, if I can put it like, including the dealerships. So I'm trying to put it together. Also, development and innovation. As those of us who are based in this country, who've been there for long, there's an investment in R&D. We'll invest in skills development. We partner with universities in terms of skilling up people, in terms of skilling the workforce in South Africa, enhancing technology and engineering capabilities. In our case, there's quite a positive development currently from the global Volkswagen disaster, or from the German Volkswagen disaster. So we'll take over responsibilities in engineering now from Germany, because they see the potential in this country. So and there is skilled people, and labor in South Africa is cheaper than it is probably in a very high-income country as Germany. So we take over engineering capabilities. So 2 things, we make money with that. We'll increase the workforce in South Africa, or 3 things even, and we grow jobs in South Africa. So that is, for me, is quite a positive in the overall disaster. But I think all of us, we behave as very good corporate citizens, those who have been here for long. We'll invest in the communities. For example, we are trying to build a school now. We're trying that for 2 years already. I learned some new English words. One is rezoning. But now that I know, I think we can get over it one day. Also for us, so we are here for the long haul. So sustainability is also a thing. We're not here for a quick win or for a quick dump of cars or for quick, let's see whether we can do business here. So sustainability, environmental protection. So there is a lot, I think, which is beneficial for having that local, long-standing industry from manufacturing to dealerships. Yeah, that's currently, I think, where my headspace is around the most. How do we protect that, and how do we grow that? And I was, so what is also a huge advantage, and that's even more so from your side, is that in terms of customer centricity, in the dealerships, you know your customers. You've been there for a very long time. You've got an established dealer network. Volkswagen has 108 dealers in South Africa only. Other legacy brands have long-standing customer relationships. So there's an automotive heritage. You've got a large established customer base. There's CRM projects or programs. You know your customers well. You've been contributing to transformation goals. We participate, including our dealerships, in the YES programs, absorb young people in South Africa, try to increase their perspective. There's CSI initiatives. So, and now that's the Volkswagen part. As I said, 107 dealers in 9 provinces. There's a customer base of 1.4 million customers. The dealer network is 94% BBBEE compliant in the Volkswagen case. 1,929 YES candidates have been given training opportunities with 13% absorption rate. That's something we work on. We want to absorb more, so there is programs in place to increase the absorption rate. The dealer network participates in sustainability at retail to reduce the carbon footprint. So, as I said, the organization and the long-standing legacy dealerships, importers are there for the long haul and contribute. Now, hard cut. Another question I got is digital retailing, and so in the way the questions were put, it always feels a bit like, is it a threat to us as dealers? Is it a threat? And in all these topics, I would rather see an opportunity. So we also come to AI a bit later. So an opportunity, and also something which we can't fight anyway. So rather make it your friend, I would say. If you look into online shopping, and that's global now, 20% of all retail sales worldwide is online shopping, which is already quite a lot. I thought it was much higher, but it's already 20% now. Do I think that a car will be entirely bought online one day? I don't think so. For many people, it's the biggest investment in life if they don't buy property. I think you want to at least have one touch point, touch and feel with a car. But that's, anyway, 20% of retail sales worldwide. The interesting thing is that the biggest mobility provider, Uber, or the biggest accommodation provider, Airbnb, for example, they are asset light, very asset light, because specifically Airbnb or also Amazon, because they don't have, Airbnb does not own any of these accommodations. It's a trading platform. So there is a huge opportunity in terms of asset light trading if you look into other industries. It's of course trading a car without a car is difficult, but there's opportunity, I would say, in bringing specifically asset costs down, and that. But the existence of all these different areas that significantly change the consumer behavior, and of course there is an expectation also in our field and area of business that you can somehow also digitally trade in that way. There is an increase of 33%, and you would know that because the customers come in the showrooms, 33% increase of online vehicle configurators. So an average, before a customer comes into a showroom, he's configured 3 cars online. So before he's coming to visit, 3 cars online have been configured online. So you deal with very well-informed customers who know what they want. And that's just a reality. But it can also be very beneficial, because if you've got really good sales team, then you kind of just grab them and close the deal. So 3 out of 4 vehicle buyers have decided on their model before visiting a dealer. So you don't have to go through this, what do you want to do with your car, or all this analysis before you finally get to, okay, it's a Polo Vivo. They've done it already. So they're very well informed and know quite well what they want. And also, if you are in that space, that thing what a very good salesman in the past managed to do, to sell him up from a Vivo to a Touareg, because you finally in that discussion figure out, no, it's rather a Touareg, that's what this customer needs. And the customer says, yeah, of course, it's not a Vivo, it's a Touareg. This also now happens online. So that is kind of, it puts, well, I would say puts pressure on your digital teams to set online up in a way that these customers can discover it now online, because it says 40% of shoppers, and that's not Volkswagen stats, but that's general stats, find a vehicle they have not considered before, but now they find that online, and then that's after these configurations they come and say, I want to buy that. Also YouTube and Jules, yeah, it's not only Jules, but the watching YouTube before you buy a vehicle or before you test drive a vehicle has increased, it's grown by 65%, and only in the last 2 years. And it was already quite on a high side. So it's a reality anyway. And I think best is we all face it. And for me, and seeing these stats, there's huge opportunities in it to really make good business out of it, instead of being afraid of digital retailing trends. So how can that look like? How in our dealer space probably, so online vehicle showrooms, which of course requires good technology, because otherwise it's really a pain. But of course it can reduce also the amount of cars in the showroom if you've got a proper online vehicle showroom. So as I said, can get asset lighter at least. Similar with virtual reality and augmented reality technologies to help you visualizing different lines, different trims, different features in the car which the demo vehicle might not have, or you might not even have that demo vehicle. In a proper sales funnel, and that's of course also where the importers and manufacturers have to work first on a proper sales funnel, which enables you to kind of go through the entire funnel more or less online, including probably also a link to the banks, including links to insurances to really have a peace of mind package for the customer. There is data analytics. And we are also not good in that. So there is that buzzword which is around probably for the last 7-8 years, which is data is the new oil. We together we are able to collect so many data, and we've got data lakes already at Volkswagen. I would call it data oceans. So the Indian Ocean is right next to us. It's almost as big as our data ocean. But I think we jointly have not found really the the clue how to monetize data or how to better make use of all these data we are collecting. To me, that is a huge opportunity, but also a huge call for action in terms of it's there anyway. So let us jointly figure out what best we can do with the data. And that's not the birthday of the customer where you then invite them to the golf tournament because it's in your CRM database. That's not what I'm talking about. But really car usage data, fleet management data, we could get that all, and I think we can jointly embark on this journey to make more out of that. Then also one thing I really like is the omni-channel experience. So it's a mix of online offers. So you can have your accessories, you can have your maintenance plans, you can have that cars, you can have that all in one platform in the interaction with dealerships. So for me, there's really a lot of opportunities in digital retailing. Some of it is applied already, some of it is reality anyway. And to me, that's digital retailing is a very good thing. Do I really think someone wants to press the button, as I said earlier on, to say a purchase without having seen the car or probably without having test-driven the car? I'm not so sure. But there is a lot of support in that entire process. So then I was asked about AI. I also must speak about AI a bit. And it's quite similar to, I think, digital retailing. It's there also anyway. So to me, also rather an opportunity than a threat. The general stats say you can boost your profitability significantly by 40%. That's more cost reduction than profit increase or revenue increase. It's transforming the automotive industry also on our side. I think we must get well informed on what AI can do and what it can't do, and whether it's really an intelligence or rather a huge heuristic model in terms of putting things into a three-dimensional room and using the most used avenues, if I can put it like that. But it can add a lot of value to the operations. So we are also struggling as a manufacturer with finding use cases for AI. But what we do already is, for example, predictive maintenance for machinery and tools. So in our press shop, we've got an AI tool, for example, monitoring the conditions. So that's the temperature, for example, of the press. So if it gets too high, you know rather maintenance must come in now before you've got a breakdown. And we do that with a lot of machines. We've got a predictive road tester. So when the car offlines, considering all the conditions of many other vehicles which have been built, the similar configuration, taking into account some specific manufacturing factors, we can say this car needs to go on a road test before it goes to a customer, or this car can go without the road test, because we know that this car will not fail. So with that, and in fact, that's a cost saving on our side. Hence, we also built for export markets. We've got AI in terms of a camera system, because all these export markets need specific stickers in the manufacturing process. Which fuel you need in Japan, I don't know. There's probably in some cars 15 stickers which needs to be on the right car. So and on our line we build one car for the Japan, the next car is for South Africa, the next car is for UK, so you get them all in line. So this camera now detects, is that with this VIN number, does it have the right stickers, or was there a failure in the process, in the manual process of putting on the right stickers to the car? So we already try our best to use it. Of course, also in product development, as said there, AI-powered design, machine learning models to enhance safety features, which is also quite close. AI-driven models for telematics and predictive maintenance and diagnostics of the car. So that will save save a lot of money also for the customers, because you could tell them earlier on to come in the workshops to rather do the service now, which is also a huge tool for customer loyalty. So because now you tell them rather come in and don't go to a Goldwagen to get it fixed once it's broken. Oops, did I say something? Smart navigation, and that's already in place. That's anyway in place with the Googles and the Waze already, which is in fact a function of an AI tool. And what can happen on the dealer space? And I'm sure many of you probably already do the one or the other thing. It's AI-powered chatbots for 24/7 service. We also try to implement some of that now in our customer interaction center. You can, in this fantastic configurator we've spoken about, there can be personalized recommendations even based on customer preferences and history. Predictive analytics for you on the potential buyer behavior. A lot of use cases in the marketing space, in terms of driving marketing campaigns via AI or social media engagements via AI. Sentiment analysis, you could have face recognition, a customer walking in, is it a happy customer or is it not? So probably interesting in the after-sales space. But you can also, like basic emails, you can automate your the first steps of customer communication. So I remember in our case it was like back in the days we find 48 hours is an adequate time to answer on a customer demand or customer email. I mean 48 hours, and you've got that tech-savvy generation which can get instant answers. So and that's again similar to digital retailing. That's what they expect. When they go to an Instagram or whenever they go in Google, they don't want to wait 48 hours before someone attends their email and says thank you for asking. So and of course there's difficult questions which need to be attended personally, but for many of the things, just like automate and off we go, I would say. Sentiment analysis we talked about. There can be AI-based pricing models, forecasting probably not that much vehicle stock, but specifically for those who've got bigger parts warehouses. There's fantastic AI parts warehouse management systems, I find. And can even be AI-powered, and I think it's probably already in use in banks also, fraud detection and risk assessment for financing and insurance. So also that I find a very fascinating space. We are trying now in the Volkswagen team, we are trying to build an AI tool for volume prediction, for the future, when we plan future models, because mainly our sources are looking backwards, so which probably don't take into account a future growth, and that's specifically when we venture into Africa now as Volkswagen. You can't go with numbers from the past, and then you predict a specific share, and then you know, this is probably our volume for 2026. But factor in macroeconomic factors for our own volume prediction, not for total market prediction, but for our own volume prediction. Or how can you derive a volume of a new body style which is not in the market? So if it would only be Volkswagen, we would never got to SUVs, because we didn't know SUVs in the past. So if you then look at what is that? No, it's not existing as a segment. So it can't come. But to really build models also with customer preferences or consumer behavior, so that's what we are trying to do now. To not replace our volume planning, but to support our volume planning, and see when we get to one day to kind of probably the AI model is then working better than well, I won't call it rear view mirror marketing, but sort of sometimes. That is another question I was asked to talk about: brand alignment and loyalty. And when I was asking, debating with Khamim what's behind it, says, no, it's probably, there's that fear of making huge investments in very expensive showrooms, and what is that all about? So I want to rephrase it a bit, not into making huge investments in expensive showrooms, but the power of brands, which also comes back to legacy importers and established manufacturers. I think one of the biggest assets many of us have is, in fact, the brand. Also, when you look into all these newcomers in markets which might remain, or many of them probably also might not remain. And I've put together some statistics on how much a brand supports, in fact, the retail and the loyalty of customers. So strong brands enjoy higher customer trust and loyalty. 77% of consumer purchases are based on a brand name. 81 buy on brand trust, which is very good news. Of course, there's always that basic level of affordability. Yes, you can trust a brand as much as you can, but if you at the very end can't afford, then you can't buy. But this is such a strong asset if you kind of have a leveled playing field in terms of, yes, in general I can afford what I'm looking at. 81 based on brand trust. That talks to those who have been in this industry, and brand trust is also the dealer brand. So of course it's the car brand, but it's also the brand of the dealerships in what area. So weaker brands struggle, fortunately, to build the same level of brand trust, which leads to lower customer retention rates, which is also an opportunity for the strong brands in terms of, as I said, all these newbies coming in and probably being tempting, but I don't want to go through that cycle, and customers will then one day come back, but I would rather prefer they just stay. Strong brands also, to a certain extent, allow you to charge higher prices. So if the customer has bought into the brand value and the value for money and knows what he or she gets for that money, then you can slightly charge higher prices, or you don't have to discount that much. So that's weaker brands have to compete on price. That's probably their way to do it, but most likely with eroding margins. So a positive brand perception is a very competitive edge to the market, because 50% of consumers are more likely to buy from a recognized brand, and they know already. And if we then manage to convince those customers and live up to that brand promise of trust, they're very likely to, first of all, recommend you and us, and secondly, to, of course, buy again. So it's also word of mouth. We one day tried to set out a bonus for recommendation, which at the very end was not really measurable and didn't work so well. But the word of mouth and your neighbor telling you this, if you like your neighbor, of course. But this is something to go with. Brand is an asset which is probably even underranked in our minds how we conduct business. So 87% of consumers take brand reputation into account when they make their purchases. That's also bad news, because once there is a problem, that is also quite well known immediately. But in general, of course, it leads to higher sales and customer loyalty. 73% of consumers are willing to pay more for products from brands they love. So that's really, but that's love. It's not. That's not in general, but probably really your top 3-4 brands you really admire. So we talked about the competitive edge in the market, higher prices. We've got that. And that is, sorry, and this is why I don't want to talk about showroom investment. Of course, showroom investment must be reasonable, but also the showroom, as well as your websites, or as well as the appearance there, that is an investment in the brand. And it's not about, as I said, it's not about the couch or whatever, but it's really about how the brand is represented in all channels and in all customer touch points. And that's why I think just selling from a shack is not a good idea, but of course the investment must be reasonable. Then next question I was asked, or next topic I was asked to talk about, is the profit margin pressure, the electric vehicle effect. So as we've also seen in the poll, EV is not mainstream, and that's electric vehicles. That's not new energy vehicles, but that's really electric vehicles, not mainstream in SA yet. And the adoption is going very slowly. Overall, there is now 4,000 BEVs, battery electric vehicles, in the car park. The total car park is 13 million cars. So it's quite a low percentage. I think last year it was around, again, 1,000 new registrations of battery electric vehicles. And I think it's a bit of chicken and egg. I think many of us, also manufacturers, we lean back and are a bit relieved because there's an affordability issue with battery electric vehicles. They are still more expensive than combustion engine cars. Then also South Africa is a very mature petrol-head country, so no one can imagine ever to change into electric vehicles, and we will be that little asterisk village in the world where it never comes to. But I think, unfortunately, that also will not become reality, because with the transition into electric vehicles, and my personal opinion is Europe will go there, by 2035, new car registrations in Europe will have to be battery electric vehicles, so I think they will not change, but there's discussion ongoing, of course. One day we'll have to, because there is not much more choice with a variety of combustion engine vehicles. Of course, new energy vehicles, so plug-in hybrids, mild hybrids, full hybrids, would support this transition, but we'll have to prepare, not rush it, but we'll have to prepare. So charging infrastructure, for example, I would say is something which makes sense to work on, to develop in South Africa. One of my favorite examples is also the source of power is quite important. If it's really about CO2 reduction, if you really do that because you want to protect the climate, South Africa is not a good place to start with electric vehicles, because it's 85% source of power is coal. So you replace, in the majority, quite efficient combustion engines with low fuel consumption, which still emit some CO2. You replace that with zero-emission vehicles, which are charged by 85% source of power coal. In our case, if we would replace our fleet, we would increase emissions by 30%. Just for as an example, but that must not stop us, because now it's also kind of, okay, you charge probably at home, you set up your PV. South Africa has also signed the Paris Climate Accord. Sustainable power comes more and more into perspective. So we jointly must get to I think, slow development and prepare for tomorrow in the electric vehicle space. I don't think it's going away, and then rather embrace it, not full throttle, but embrace it than fight it. If it's really about short-term benefits to reduce CO2 emissions, definitely the hybrids would do better or would help more. That's, I think, also why we jointly lobby for considering also the hybrids, the entirety of new energy vehicles in terms of being subsidized, or in terms of somehow at least being not penalized when you import them. Because that's probably the step in between, and that's the best short-term win in terms of reducing CO2 emissions. But I think we jointly must prepare for tomorrow also in the EV space. But as a matter of fact, And that's also the sad part, and that's also why I think it makes sense to start preparing now. Potentially, EV sales will reduce 80% in terms of parts and 47% in terms of labor in the after sales, in the services, because those cars don't have oil, those cars have much simpler engines, those cars have not really gearboxes, so the high profit or revenue gainers in the after sales space will reduce. And we'll see that in countries like Norway, who have embarked on that journey already long ago, and where, I don't know, all new car registrations are already, or almost all are, electric vehicles. We see that from our dealerships in Norway. That is not where they make their money on. And so we jointly need to look into alternative revenue streams, which I think no one has found the silver bullet yet. And this is now it. But also good news is there is a huge combustion engine car park outside, and it will remain for long. The car park will remain for long. So one thing we work towards with our organization is the attempt to increase segment 2 and segment 3 loyalty in the car park. You want those people to come back to your workshop and not to someone else's workshop, to kind of have that revenue stream probably still for the next 10 to 15 years until we fully have to switch to electric vehicles. So there is some learnings from countries who have switched already more to electric vehicles. So one is the fleet business, remote servicing, reconditioning, and accessories fitment, which has been professionalized even more than it was. Insourcing of repairs, which in some countries have been done externally. You offer complementary, so those countries offer complementary services like roadworthy tests, license renewals, and again partnerships with insurance companies to open up that insurance field, which I talked about already in the digital retail space. As again, the buzzword data is the new oil, but oil is not flowing as of now, but at least we've got the data, so something we can jointly think of. And then also, and that's my last, also a buzzword, that labor skills gap. And we tried to also, when I was asked like how to address this labor skills gap, we tried to figure out what is that labor skills gap in South Africa. And probably the good news is we find that there is not a huge labor skills gap. South Africa is quite well equipped and also quite well prepared for the challenges of the future. There's definitely opportunity in the robotics space, like more in the new fields, not in the classic engineering fields. In specialized IT skills, we also see that with our IT department. Running legacy systems is one thing, but now also implementing AI in our production facilities, for example, is another thing. So that is to me an opportunity where South Africa can propel and gain traction, because this is some of the fields of the future. But in general, building an electric vehicle is not much different to building a combustion engine vehicle. And servicing an electric vehicle is then you have trained service people in doing so, but it's also not very different to servicing combustion engine vehicles. So I see the challenge more in the digital space than in the electric vehicle space. We all know about the math and science capabilities and declining base in schools in South Africa. And I think, and we all do that already to a large degree. We partner with universities, we partner with schools on site. I think we are all very much invested into supporting that. We partner with the NMU, the Nelson Mandela University, for example, for specifically addressing these things in the electric vehicle space, but also in the IT space. And with that, my questions I was asked are over, and I find it with all, I find it a very positive outlook because there's a lot of opportunity in it. I don't see, yes, there's threats, but I rather would encourage all of us to embrace the future together and build even stronger partnerships. Thank you very much. I have no clue how long I've talked, so I'm ready for Q's and A's, but I don't know whether I've got time. Nobody is opposing, that means yes. Silence is acknowledgement. But we need Q's and A's for the Q's. I mean, I provide the A's, but you must provide me with Q's, please. Don't be so shy. Yes. Mike is coming right behind you.
Thank you. From your slides, it's clear that electrical vehicles are not going to really take off in South Africa. What is VW's plan in the hybrid space? Because I mean, Toyota is dominating in there. They've a lot of their vehicles now coming with hybrid options. Where's your view on that?
Yeah, so kudos to Toyota on that. Their hybrid. They are in the third generation now of running the full hybrid, which is admirable, and I think that they've done a very good thing there. So we want to, as Volkswagen, we want to release different hybrid technologies. Currently, we struggle with the fuel quality in South Africa. So, and that is it's not only Volkswagen, but with also a lot of brands investing into electric vehicles. They've reduced the complexity of combustion engines, which in our case is there's only engines available, hybrid engines in our global range with petrol particle filter, auto particle filter, OPF. Which currently collapse with the South African fuel quality with higher sulfur levels than we expected it to be, and sort of higher iron content. We've made a lot of progress with the oil industry in South Africa to limit iron, to standardize also iron content. Iron was not prior to that was not part of any standard, so that is now standard. Sulfur levels, we've agreed on a level, and there's huge, so far, huge agreement also in the oil industry to get to that level. As I said, it's not only beneficial for Volkswagen, even prior to the introduction of Clean Fuel 2, which has been postponed by 10 years and which we all hope is going to happen in July 27, but even prior to that. So if this positive trend continues, we as Volkswagen will release a technology that's called ETSI in Europe. It's a mild hybrid system. So this will come. We are working on, to me, probably the best gap, bridging the gap between today and battery electric vehicles is a plug-in hybrid. Unfortunately, also the most expensive to bridge that gap is a plug-in hybrid, because mainly you've got two full functional systems, the battery electric vehicle system and combustion engine. So best of both worlds is most expensive of both worlds. So we're working on global plug-in hybrid technology to also release plug-in hybrids in the nearer future. So that's the two, ETSI and plug-in hybrid, but still also play as much as we can in the BEV space. But please support in this fuel quality. It's not only Volkswagen, it's almost all of us. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, hi. This is a how and who and when question. So how can we promote more manufacturers coming into South Africa? So more manufacturing happening in South Africa, creating more jobs and boosting the economy that way.
So I think the biggest promotion would be a growing domestic market. With the 570,000 passenger car and trucks or light commercial vehicles, I think the 7 of us, we battle, or not battle. We are fine. Stellantis has announced that investment, but has also postponed the start of production already. So the 8th manufacturer is at the doorstep. The benefit of that, we already share now a lot of suppliers, because with our low volumes, South Africa is 0.67% of the global automotive production. That includes also exports. With our low volumes, the suppliers really struggle. So we've got for example, our bumper supplier, Rehau, also supplies bumpers to BMW and Mercedes, because their viability is depending on more than one. Even if all our 167,000 cars we manufacture get bumpers front and rear from Rehau, that's not enough volume for them. So domestic market growth for in our Volkswagen case would be the best, because then you get more volumes, you get more economies of scale, you get more viability for suppliers and for manufacturers to invest. Which then also, I mean, you want to see a potential before you come and throw money on a market. That's the one, but as I also said, and that's a discussion we need to have with politics, how do you in a political way make local economy viable? And additional costs for electricity, additional costs for a non-performing logistics system. We have to truck all our cars, mainly to Gauteng province, for example, which from Eastern Cape to Gauteng province, because the rail is dysfunctional. That puts additional costs, significant costs per car, and also additional CO2. So if the business environment, it's not about getting subsidies, it's really if the business environment would just work as you would expect it to work. So when you need power, you get power, which is not highly priced, or not more priced than normal. Logistics works, ports performance is in shape, and we managed to grow the domestic market. I think that is that would be the biggest lever. And really not punish those who want to build local cars. To me, it is not understandable. We are the only ones manufacturing in the small car segment in South Africa, like in the A0 segment, as we call it, which is the biggest segment in South Africa across all. But we're the only ones manufacturing there, and it's cheaper to import these vehicles, and that is not correct. And it's not, our cars don't have that price because that is our margin-winning car. Our cars have this price because we only manufacture 27,000 Vivos a year, as opposed to other cars being manufactured in 300,000, 400,000 in other countries. So the economies of scale you get in another country with our small, coming back to the small domestic market, we can't beat. And then we'll add my generators to the Vivos, we'll add the transport to Gauteng to the Vivos, and that adds up to us being not competitive in terms of compared to imports, and that's not right. It's not that I want to make more profit, I just want to be competitive. I must stop now, says Jules, we'll have to drink. That's what you're saying, right?
Exactly what I'm
Yeah. But anyway, I'm here still for further questions over a glass of coffee.
That's fine.
Thank you so much.